where do you think that other firms are falling short? Maybe without obviously pointing any out, but
Right. I'm trying to think. You're asking tough questions. You should be a lawyer.
that's what I do.
You should be a lawyer.
Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Highlights. I'm Alex Uriarte, your host. And so, as you know, we try to give our viewers a little bit of value, just interviewing different people from different walks of life and maybe just looking a little bit beyond the resume, just trying to go and see what value they could bring to our viewers. So today we have Ben Vasquez, one of the attorneys here at Uriarte Law. And so we're going to go through a little bit of questions, just kind of seeing a little bit about your experience and, seeing if there's anything that maybe you could provide in terms of value to our viewers. The interesting part about Ben is that Ben has actually been at a lot of different law firms. And so he's seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, right?
Yeah.
And on top of that, our families go way back. We were just talking about that. So, yeah, so let's go a little bit beyond the highlights. So a lot of people probably see where you're at now, and they probably think, wow, successful attorney. I want to kind of take it back a little bit of like where did it actually start for you in terms of wanting to be a lawyer, everything that maybe you had to go through to get there.
Yeah. Well, so I started, actually, let me go back a little bit more. It was always in the back of my mind, to be an attorney. I don't know why. It was just something I was kind of always, kind of like drawn to. But, I was in sports a lot. I played baseball. So I figured maybe if I do law, sports route, maybe like an agent, work in the front office. So I went into law school and I did a dual degree. I did the JD to graduate law school, and then I did a master's in sports administration. But to get the work experience while I was in law school, I no, I kind of how do I put it? I kind of steered away from sports and went more towards the civil route, which is where I got most of my experience. So I kind of just like going back, I just kind of was always wanted to be an attorney, and then instead of going one route, went the other route.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, right?
Yeah.
I feel like, I went through a lot of that as well. And that's the great part about the journey, right? Is that you may not know exactly where you want to be, but at least you know kind of the general direction of where
Right.
you want to head. And then a lot of times different things in life probably kind of help narrow that down
Right.
for you, right?
Right.
What was your first experience like actually working inside of a law firm?
Inside of a law firm, I'm trying to remember the first place I clerked in. Actually, yes, it was a PI firm, a solar practitioner. Kind of just got my feet wet. My mom knew his wife, and so he kind of just brought me into the PI world. I clerked for him for a little bit. Then I started clerking in different firms, just to get different experiences. But as far as the first law firm, I think it was up in Aventura is where I first did it. And I mean, it was a great experience. Obviously, it was like got my feet wet
Yeah.
as a clerk. Yeah, and then actually before that, before I even started law school, I interned at the state attorney's office. It was like a brief little stint just to get some experience in criminal as well. Kind of happened, but it was also very eye opening being in that side as well.
It's a lot different when you're actually inside of a law firm, right?
Right.
I know that nowadays there's a lot of shows that are out, and people have this perception maybe of what they think a law firm is like.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever seen Suits,
Yeah.
right? A lot of
Love
people
that show.
think, people think, oh, that's how a law firm is. Was there ever a point where you kind of figured out that this profession may not be as glamorous as people think?
Yeah, I think so. I want to say not necessarily that's glamorous, but yeah, definitely not what's depicted on TV. It's funny. I always tell clients what you see on TV is not what real life is. So it was kind of, how to put it, like I never had like, oh my God, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, but it was nice to see that people are normal. Attorneys, sometimes they get like a little stigma, and I'm like, these attorneys are normal people. The staff is normal people. It is not all the glitz and glamour. It's the hard work. It's the the grind every day that they put in and day out that shows, what a real law firm is.
Right, right,
Hmm.
definitely. And
Hmm.
obviously, I'm sure every firm is different.
Of course.
And like we talked about, you've
Hmm.
had experience at a bunch of different
Hmm.
firms. So, what would you say was kind of like your experience in going through these different firms in terms of comparing your experience either with larger firms,
Hmm.
smaller firms?
Yeah. Yeah, I've worked at large firms, I've worked at small firms, and they each have their pros and cons, like everything does. So, whenever you go to a different firm, you always take in what you've learned in the previous ones. So I don't view it as like kind of like switching firms. I view them more as just, kind of like stepping stones. As I learned something from this firm, and then okay, I didn't like certain things in this firm. I'll make it better or change it in this firm. So it's always been like a learning process for me
Yeah,
until I ended up here.
right, right. Absolutely. I think that that's important, right?
Hmm.
Is just learning from every experience.
Hmm.
So now that you have that experience,
Hmm.
let's say that somebody is thinking about going to work at a law firm, they're
Hmm.
kind of evaluating whether that's the firm for them. What would you say is maybe some advice you can give to a young lawyer that may be thinking about whether this firm
Hmm.
is for them or not? Like, what
Hmm.
did you pick up in terms of details
Yeah.
from that?
One thing I've picked up in all the firms I've worked in is you have to be open to criticism. You have to have tough skin because these are the people that are going to show you the ropes. You have to be open to learning. You have to be an open book. You have to write down as much as you can. You have to just be willing to learn. And if you're able to do that wherever you work, you're going to be successful.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Is there anything that you could say that working at certain firms that you would say, okay, well, I definitely know that I don't want to work at a place that does this, right?
It's actually I've never thought of that way. um, I don't know. Just I like to present myself as, I guess I call it normal as possible. If I can't explain it to a third grader, I can't explain it to a client. I need to be able to simplify things to a point where if I can understand it, I need my client to understand it, and if they don't understand it, then it's gonna be a problem.
Hmm.
So I need to. That's one of the things I picked up is you have to simplify it as much as possible to be able to get to where you need to be.
Right, right. So maybe in that
Mm.
same line of thinking, right,
Mhm.
having the right structure, having the right mentors in
Correct.
place, maybe that
Hmm.
would be able to help out throughout that process, right? And
Hmm.
maybe, um, yeah, I guess that's usually what I tell other younger attorneys as well.
Hmm.
Is that, well, if the firm doesn't have any mentorship or anyone that you could really go to,
Hmm.
and they don't have a structure laid out, you may think whether that's really for you,
Right.
right?
Right. You have to be able to be in a place where you can grow. You have to be able to, you know, show your abilities. So you have to be able to be in a place where you can do that. And of all the places I've worked in, working here has been great. Everybody. I didn't have a lot of experience in the PI world. I came from homeowner insurance from first party, but everybody's been great in helping me out to learn the new aspects of what I'm learning now.
Right.
And it goes back to being receptive to it. You have to be able to learn and have people to teach you that.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Mm.
I think that's important with a
Mm.
collaborative environment, right? I know that
Correct.
nowadays we're seeing a lot of people that want to work from home
Hmm.
or, just have these hybrid schedules,
Hmm.
and I don't know how productive that
Hmm.
is for somebody that really wants to learn
Right.
and wants to bounce ideas off of mentors.
Hmm.
It may seem like that may be a little bit more difficult to do,
Hmm.
right? From maybe
Right.
hundreds of miles away or who knows,
Right.
where people are, right? What are your thoughts on that?
So, yeah, I'm definitely a big believer in person. You have to look face to face. You can look at it through a screen. It's still not the same thing. So, yeah, you have to be able to, get up and go to a person's office and like, hey, what do you think of this? Instead of, writing a message or like, hey, can we get on a Zoom call really quick? Definitely in person is a lot better as far as the interaction, the physical interaction with people.
Yeah, yeah. Would you say there was ever a moment where you kind of thought like, okay, well, this career is not for me?
Hmm. I did have, I think at one point, it was brief. I'm trying to remember what caused it, but it was more of just like, it's kind of like I was at a crossroads. Like, do I want to keep going with this? Do I not? But fortunately, my wife helped me out a lot to be able to like guide me. I had some friends that I was able to rely on as well. And again, it goes back to mentors. People that I respected in the legal field, and they were able to kind of like guide me back into sticking around here.
Right, right. And I think obviously, yeah, finding your place,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Finding something that obviously aligns with your goals and objectives.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's something important for young lawyers, is just because
Hmm.
you work at one place that, may not have been the best experience.
Right.
That doesn't mean that you're not a good lawyer,
Right.
right? Or it doesn't mean you're not going to find a place
Right.
where you're going to be able to fit in, right?
Right. I mean, yeah, every office is different, and it goes back to what I said. It's a learning experience. You learn from where you are. So I worked at all these places, and I learned from each one of these places, what works best for me, what works best for an office, what doesn't work best. So it's the mentality you have to take. It's instead of all looking back like, oh, I shouldn't have been there. No, like, hey, I should have been there. I learned something. I learned not to do, whatever it was that you saw.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, like you said, we get a lot of lessons
Mm-hmm.
from those experiences as
Hmm.
well.
Right.
So they make you who you are today, right?
Of course.
And you wouldn't be the lawyer that you are today without having maybe made some mistakes,
Of
or,
course.
gone through some rough patches maybe in prior places.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, for a young lawyer, let's
Mm-hmm.
say, maybe a little bit scared or discouraged, were there any mistakes you'd say that you made very early on, and maybe not to freak out
Mm-hmm.
about that? It's
I mean, I mean, granted, I'm pretty sure I've sent in grammatical errors to judges all the time. I mean, it's actually a funny story. One of the first hearings I ever did, I was doing foreclosure defense for a little bit, and the first hearing I had, it wasn't just one, it was nine, and I kind of got thrown to the wolves, and it was a disaster. I am not ashamed to admit it; it was a disaster. But made a mistake, but guess what? You learn from it. And every time, you learn something, every hearing, it's not just your hearing, you listen to other people, seeing what they're doing.
Mhm.
Everything I go back to, it's always a learning experience. So you're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. Just learn from it, move on, and become better at that.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. And obviously, yeah, everything
Mhm.
happens for a reason, right?
Exactly.
Would you say that there would be anything that you would do differently if you were to be able to restart your legal career?
To restart my legal career. Oh, you're asking tough questions. I haven't thought, I haven't thought of these. No, you know what? I kind of I like how it's brought me to where I am. You know, leading all the experience in law school, all the places I've clerked, all the places I've worked. I don't think I would do anything different. I'll be very honest. As far as where all of those steps has led me to where I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. Well, off the top of my head, yeah, I can't think of anything.
Well, yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
because maybe, if you were to go back
Hmm.
and go in a different direction,
Yeah.
maybe you wouldn't have learned everything that you've learned so far, right?
Correct.
So, is there anything that stands out that you could say, like what all of those experiences in your past have actually taught you to like this day?
It's just taught me to, you know, just be just be the best attorney you can be. You learn. You're always learning. That's why it's the practice of law. It's like the cliche thing to say. It's a practice of law.
Yeah.
It is. It is a practice because you're always learning. Whether it's something that you've done the same thing for the past 10 years, and then all of a sudden it changes. Well, you got to learn that. So it's just it's just the ability to learn and to learn from different people, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I
Mm.
think that that's important as well
Mhm.
for other attorneys, or people
Mhm.
considering a career in law,
Right.
to realize is that, yeah, attorneys are not perfect. You may
Mhm.
see all the glitz and glamour, right,
Yeah.
in the social
Yeah.
media or their website, right? But attorneys make mistakes as well,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
for the most part,
Mm.
they can be fixed for the most
Right.
part, right?
Right.
And we're all human, and
Mhm.
so obviously, not to be too discouraged, right?
Right.
And
Yeah. It's mistakes are gonna happen,
yeah.
whether you like it or not. As much as you try and prevent it, something's always going to fall through. But you know what? It's something to look at after. You look back on it, you're like, all right, I made this mistake. How can I fix it?
Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. So there's probably some people coming out of law school
Mm-hmm.
right now, and they
Mm-hmm.
may be nervous, scared. Is there any
Mm-hmm.
advice that you would give to somebody that is coming out of law school right now?
Um, yeah, just get to know people. I have my core group of friends in law school. We talk every now and then. If we need some help with something, just get to know as many people as you can because this is a very small world. It's a very you're gonna run into the same people over and over again. I know I've been doing homeowners insurance for over 10 years, and it's the same attorneys over and over again. So we see each other like, hey, what's going on? So it's and you don't want to burn bridges.
Hmm.
That's something I tell people all the time: is don't burn a bridge. Okay, something happens, you don't want to burn that bridge because you never know that person may help you in the future. Um, yeah, so those two things, and then good luck on the bar.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And so, going into a little bit more about where you're at now,
Mhm.
right? We've gone a little bit about in the past. What would you say that makes working here now a little bit different?
It's the environment that you guys have here. It's a big firm. It's like one of the biggest I've worked in, but everybody gets along well. It's the environment that you guys have created here. And I've told you this in private. It's everybody helps each other out. Everybody gets along. For the most part, obviously, there's going to be discussions. But for the most part, it's you guys have created a good environment, and when clients come in, they see everybody's here. Um, you know, everything's done, for the client. We're trying to do the best for the client, and so it's nice to see that here.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is something that made you think, okay, well, this is actually like a place that I can actually grow in?
It's the people. Honestly, it's the people. The all the attorneys were they're all great, and they've all been super helpful with me. It's a again, it goes back to the environment that you guys have created here. The staff is great. You can just walk up to anybody, hey, how's it going? And like it's not like, oh, you gotta be careful. And what you got, and going to what I said about what you guys do for the clients, like you guys really strive to do what is best for the client. And I see that. And I know in all the other places, like, yeah, you'd always say, yeah, we want to do best for our client, but like I see it here. I really see it here.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like it's something that was intentional
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning, and you always have kind of like a vision of where you kind of see the business going.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that I ever saw the business getting as big as it is
Mm-hmm.
now, but always had that vision of it being a place where people wanted to come to work.
Right.
That was what I always thought of from the beginning, is that would be great if
Right.
you could make a place where people enjoy being around each other, can
Yeah.
talk, and can be able to work on cases.
Right.
Because I always figured if people are in a good mood and they're having a good time, right,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be a lot more productive and you're going
Mm-hmm.
to make better decisions.
Definitely.
And so
Definitely.
I think that that's important. Is that something that you've seen here as well?
Definitely. Definitely. I compare it to we always have the stress of work, right? The work
Mm,
is always going to be stressful, whatever it is that you do. But when you add that, if you're going to some place and you have stress of the office as well, when you add those two together, you're not going to have a good mindset. So here, when I come to work, obviously I have the stress of work, but I don't have the stress of the office.
yeah.
So it's very refreshing to be able to just walk in the office and be like, all right, say hi to everybody. It's to be a nice time. But then obviously, the stress of work is different, but the stress of the office is basically non-existent for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. And so I wanted to kind of compare that a little bit to maybe other firms. Where do you think that other firms are falling short? Maybe without obviously pointing any out, but
Right. Um, trying to think of the places that I've been. You know what? I think it's just it's a good question. Just probably like the environment that some offices have created. It, it it's not what's the word I'm looking for? It's it doesn't promote productivity. If that makes any sense. Like it's not you're not there to you're kind of like scared of what to do. And other places like I'm trying to think. You're asking tough questions. You should be a lawyer.
That's what I
You should
do.
be a lawyer. Yeah, I think it's just that some of the places I've worked in, like it's the stress that comes on to the office. It's the maybe direct and indirect pressure for certain places. And obviously, we're in a occupation that has to produce. Obviously,
Yeah.
like any job, you have to produce. And, nobody's gonna hire you if you're not gonna produce.
Right.
Um, but it's a different type of when you add pressure to it. Okay, it, yeah, I will call it that. Yeah, just like some of the external pressures that don't need to be there.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
always felt like
Mm.
a lot of it had to do with a lack of purpose,
Right,
that it was like, why does the firm exist, right? I feel like
right,
everything has to have a purpose,
right.
and there has to be obviously a reason behind it, like, and then what?
Right.
Right? Let's say we make a lot of money, then
Hmm.
what?
Right.
Right? And I don't know, I guess I always felt like there was a need for that in the legal community,
Hmm.
is in being able to have law firms that have purpose, that
Right.
are able to give back, that are
Hmm.
able to engage, I guess, their
Yeah.
employees, develop them, obviously take care of the clients, but
Hmm.
also take care of the community, people that are not your clients,
Right.
right? Being able to give back and do things for
Mm.
others, I think is
Right.
important.
Yeah, like when you see Uriarte Law, it's like, okay, it's a law firm, but then you see your foundation, like, oh, it's Uriarte Law, and then you have Uriarte Foundation. So you get, you realize that they do mean they're going to help people.
Yeah.
You really are going to help people, and not just your clients. You're going to help people who need help as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Hmm.
And I think that that's something that people have the wrong perception maybe
Hmm.
of the legal industry, that, it's all just sharks and
Right.
they just, want blood essentially,
Right.
right? Do you think that there is something about the legal industry that people don't understand?
Yeah. What I tell people is when you're a lawyer, you're there to resolve problems, right? You're there. You wouldn't need a lawyer if you didn't have a problem. But when people don't realize is we have to resolve everybody's problems.
Yeah.
It's a lot of problems,
Yeah.
right? On top of our own. So you have to resolve everybody's problems. So, I try and have people understand like, look, we're trying to fix your problem. We're good at fixing problems, but you have to let us fix your problem because you have to fix other problems as well. So that's why I kind of tell people it's like it's a lot of pressure that attorneys have to resolve problems. Okay. And most attorneys are good at what they do. Okay. But you have to give them the ability to fix your problem.
Yeah,
Hmm.
there's a process to
Right.
it, right? And obviously that requires a little bit of
Yeah.
patience.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
always
These
tell
things take time. Yeah.
Yeah, I always tell people that the legal process is not perfect.
Right.
The system that we have,
Hmm.
obviously, it's a lot better than a lot of other countries,
Correct.
but it's not perfect, and
Yeah.
so we kind of gotta juggle that as well
Right.
and deal with the processes that we've been given. But
Right.
obviously, just
Yeah.
to have patience throughout the
Hmm.
process, as you said, as like we try to navigate this
Correct.
system for the client, it,
Yeah.
it takes some
Yeah.
time. And
Hmm.
I know a lot of clients may be a little bit impatient sometimes because that's
It
their
happens.
only
Yeah.
problem at the time, and like you said, maybe we have
Yeah.
a lot of people's problems that we're
Right.
dealing with, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it happens. It's just I tell people all the time. It's like you just need to have patience. You're at a point right now when I understand. Obviously, for a homeowner's claim, your roof is leaking. We try to move it as best as we can. All right. Unfortunately, the legal process, even though it has sped up a little bit, once they change the rules, but it takes time. And a personal injury, you've been in a car accident, you've been hurt. We're trying to help you out. We're trying to do it as quickly as possible. But these things, it takes time. So it's just, we're gonna get it done for you. Just
Yeah,
give me a little bit.
just trust the process.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right,
Trust the
right.
process.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes from maybe clients not trusting as well,
Hmm.
because they may feel like, oh, well, another attorney in the past has
Yeah.
maybe done something
Hmm.
that wasn't correct and caused them to lose trust in the
Right.
legal profession in general. And maybe they might think, oh, this person is either not working on my case,
Hmm.
or who knows, maybe they just, took the money and
Yeah.
ran away,
Yeah.
and, a lot of things probably go through their mind, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's like one bad apple spoils the bunch. So it happens. So you have to try and you know prove to the client, show to the client that you are trustworthy. That you're not going to have that bad experience that you previously had. And you just gotta just talk to them. You gotta listen to them. Okay, everybody's gonna talk to you with a problem, but you have to be able to listen to them.
Yeah, yeah. Because yeah, like you said,
Mm,
at the end of the day,
mm,
they have a problem. We're trying to fix it.
mhm.
Obviously, we want to try to address their questions and their fears
Correct.
even before they present them, right? Because
Hmm.
that's essentially what we do is right. Okay,
Right.
like I know that this is what you're scared about,
Right.
and assuring them that okay, I'm here
Hmm.
for it all. I
Right.
understand it. Be
Hmm.
very sympathetic, and I'm
Yeah.
here to help you, right?
Yeah. You have to build the trust,
Yeah.
but you have to show them that you're trustworthy. You can say everything you want, but you have to show them like, listen, I'm doing this for you. We're doing this for you. You have to be able to show them, and then that's how you build that trust with them. And then hopefully they don't go back to how they felt before, and hopefully like, oh, you know what, I had a good experience here. These guys were good for me. So
Yeah.
that's what you hope to get from them.
Yeah, communication I feel like is very important, and to me, I feel like that kind of separates maybe a good attorney from a great attorney.
Hmm.
Do you think that there are any other things that you could think of that also could separate a good attorney from a great attorney?
Just being able to relate. Okay, it kind of goes into about the communication. You have to relate to your client. You have to understand that the client has these issues, and you're trying to help them. You can't talk to them and do them all legalese. You have to be able to explain things to them. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be trustworthy. Your reputation goes way further than anything you'll ever do as an attorney. Okay, if you have a bad experience and then your reputation starts going down, everybody's gonna remember you for that, not the great work you did.
Right.
Not gonna remember you for that one bad moment. So your reputation is absolutely key, and you have to build on it, and you have to keep it up.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I know that there's obviously a lot of moments in our career where, that gets a little bit more defined.
Hmm.
If you feel like maybe somebody might be watching this that might be kind of feeling like they're stuck in their career,
Hmm.
what would you tell them?
I would tell them, based on my experience, it's not as bad as you think it is. Okay, you're in a rut. Okay, you feel like you're in a bad spot. You're at the crossroads, that fork in the road. You gotta fight through it. You gotta battle through it, and you'll see that you're gonna come out winning at the end.
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
And I feel like a lot of times I used to look at success in one way,
Hmm.
right? And my perception of that has changed a little bit over the years. Would you say that there's a different way that you look at success now versus how you used to look at it?
Absolutely. To me, success isn't monetary value. Success is the relationships that you build. It's if you have a family, it's a family that you're building. Success is not something that can be itemized or monetized. Okay, yeah, everybody likes money. Nobody's ever going to deny that. But the real success is what you've built throughout your life. It's the relationships that you have, the relationships that you build, um, your career, what you're doing. Are you doing well at it? Are you happy with it? Your family. Family is the most important thing. My wife and 2 kids, it's the best thing I have. So it's not the money. It's what you've been able to build in your life.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And obviously that can be subjective
Hmm.
and that definition may change
Right.
over
Of course.
time,
Of
right?
course.
And I don't know, like I've always kind of thought about that question, right? Where
Hmm.
it's like when somebody asks you, like, hey, how did you become successful?
Hmm.
And I'm just kind of there wondering, like, what is your definition of
Correct.
success,
Yeah.
right? So obviously that's different for everyone. And I think
Hmm.
that attorneys need to analyze that a little bit more
Hmm.
and, maybe think about what is success,
Right.
right? And what is it for you?
Hmm.
And for me, it may be different, right?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. It's again like it's yeah. When I was younger, it's like, oh, I'm gonna be a lawyer, make money. I'm like, yeah, money is great, but it's not. That's not what's fulfilling for me. What's fulfilling for me is, you know, coming into work every day, doing the best job I can do, going home, do the best job for my family. That's success for me. Success isn't the check. Success is what I have around me.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think that there's a feeling obviously of accomplishment when you work at a place where you feel like you're finally able to kind of like help that shine a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
and kind of gives you a little bit more purpose and just kind of brings everything
Hmm.
together for you.
Hmm.
Would you say that there's any time where you may have had like a bad experience at another firm?
Yeah, yeah, I can say that. I don't. I don't think I can go into too much detail. But yeah, I did have. There was one place that was a tough experience. But you know what? It was. I needed to go through that. I needed to go through that experience, and then to be able to going back to what we were talking about, the learning. So yeah, I think that's all I can say about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and that, it always kind of interests me to kind
Hmm.
of know like where maybe we can learn from, right?
Right.
To try to
Right.
always get better. And at least in my past, I could say that I've
Hmm.
worked at other places where it kind of felt like there may have been like more like a toxic work
Right.
environment, and maybe not being able to
Hmm.
pinpoint exactly
Hmm.
what was the purpose of the
Right.
firm and what were their core values, what
Right.
was the vision of the firm,
Hmm.
where did they intend on going, and essentially looking at the ownership, looking at the leaders, and trying to figure out, okay, well, is this an extension
Hmm.
of them? Like, does this truly reflect something that I want to be a part of, right? Is this
Right.
something that I find conducive to my own
Right.
goals
Right.
and my values,
Right.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm telling you, what you've built here, it's you see everybody believes in those core values. Everybody believes in, you're here to do, you know, your job the best way possible for your clients. You're here to do a good job. Okay. And be kind, be courteous to people. All those things, those little small things, they add up, and you build that environment. You create that environment, and it reflects. It reflects in what you produce.
Yeah, yeah. And my hope always was that even if people work here and then at some point they decide that they need to go somewhere else, whether it be because of a move that they have to do or something personal in their
Hmm.
life, or just they needed something else, it would be at least that they would take away something
Right.
from here, that
Right.
they would be able to maybe transition into another firm and be like,
Hmm.
well, when I worked at this place,
Hmm.
right, they did do these great things,
Hmm.
and I think that maybe we could implement something like that
Right.
here, right?
Yeah.
uh, were there any things like that that you can think of that you would like take away
Hmm.
really well from here?
From here, from here, it's just it's just the positivity. Like everybody here is positive. Everybody here is it's out for that one goal. It's to do what's best for your client. Okay, and you build that environment, the cordial environment, the collaborative environment. That's what I'm
Yeah.
looking for. Everybody works together. It's not, oh, that's not my job. No, everybody helps each other out, no matter who it is. You have to be able to build that structure in your office if you want to succeed. I really think you need to be able to have a team that works together, that collaborates together for you to be able to grow. And I'm seeing it here.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely.
Hmm.
All right,
Hmm.
so yeah, hopefully we'll continue building on that together and
Hmm.
continue growing the team as much
Hmm.
as possible. That's obviously for us to be able to continue looking for maybe ways that we can keep developing our staff,
Hmm.
promoting them more into leadership,
Right.
people that obviously share the same core values and the same mission and vision as
Hmm.
the law firm, and hopefully be able to have them take away that as
Hmm.
well. Even like I said, even at a time where they may not work here anymore,
Hmm.
that they would be able to take away something positive that could have done a positive impact in their life
Right.
as they move on to the next phase in their
Yeah.
life, right?
Absolutely. No, that I see a bright future for us.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And that was more the direction of this particular podcast, just knowing that you had a lot of different perspectives
Hmm.
from maybe other firms that you've worked at. So, hopefully that provided some value to our
Hmm.
viewers as well when they're choosing
Yeah.
maybe if they're at the right firm,
Hmm.
or, it may be a young attorney or someone straight out of law school that is looking for where they want to work, instead of just making the decision of, well, I'll let the market determine, or
Hmm.
whoever pays me the highest, right?
Right.
It seems like there's a lot more to it than that, right? You
Right.
have to
Yeah.
really find a place that truly fits those same core values that you have,
Hmm.
and has that same purpose and vision. That way you can thrive, right, in
Right.
your best environment, right, where
Right.
you may have the mentors, and you
Hmm.
may be able to have a place that has a collaborative environment that you
Right.
can grow in. And that may make all the
Hmm.
difference in terms of whether you feel fulfilled when you go to the office or not, as opposed to just always chasing just the highest paycheck, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. It's all about the money. It's where you're able to grow.
Yeah.
It's where you're able to build relationships. It's where you're just where you can learn, and you have people that are willing to help you learn, and you
Yeah.
have to be willing to accept the learning, to the teaching.
Yeah.
So you have to. It's a two-way street. You have to have somebody that's going to teach you, and you have to be teachable. Okay. So it's hard to find a spot like that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's hard, but doesn't mean it's not impossible.
Right. Exactly. And I think that if you're chasing more the purpose
Hmm.
and
Right.
something a little bit deeper, eventually I think the money will follow,
Right.
because like I said, I feel like when people are in a good mood,
Hmm.
they're going to make better
Yeah.
decisions, and that eventually is going to lead to a lot more fulfillment in your career,
Hmm.
and you're going to be able to eventually grow and advance your career maybe within the same firm. And when you like coming to work every day,
Yeah.
you're probably going to do a lot better job there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Of
I
course.
think eventually the money follows anyway,
Yeah.
right? So you just got
Hmm.
to take that step in first following something that is obviously meaningful to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so that'll conclude our podcast here on Beyond the Highlights. Hope that provided some value for our viewers, and we'll see you on the next one.